Hello guys, my name is Nash. Welcome to Thursday Tales of Terror. TTT. So for today's case that I'm going to be talking about, it is going to be a very gruesome case that has remained unsolved till today. Nurin Jazlin Binte Jazimin. If you're Malaysian, you would probably be very familiar with this name. Now, Nurin Jazlin was an 8-year-old girl from Malaysia who was originally reported missing on the night of 20th August 2007. Her body was however found stuffed in a gym bag less than a month later. Her death and how she was being tortured sparked outrage throughout the country, and the murder is considered to be the country's most horrifying crimes in years. Till this day, her father wants nothing more but justice for his daughter. So let's begin the story. Nurin Jazlin was born on the 11th of September 1999. She would have been 22 years old today if she was still alive. She was the second child out of the 3 siblings at the time. Nurin also suffered from kidney problems and high blood pressure, and she required daily medication. Now, the family lived in Wangsa Maju, one of Kuala Lumpur's largest township, and it is known to be a busy area, be it day or night, even busier when there are weekly night markets going on. Nurin also had a best friend in school, and her best friend would describe Nurin as a happy-go-lucky girl. She was always doing her best to help the people around her, and her best friend also said that Nurin had really long, beautiful, luscious, shiny hair. And Nurin's most favorite thing in the world is a hair clip. She would always go to the night market to get herself some hair clips, and it was said that she had about hundreds of hair clips. So on the evening of August 20th, 2007, on a Monday, 8-year-old Nurin asked her mother Nurin Jazlin for permission if she could go to the night market nearby to buy herself some hair clips. Now, the night market wasn't very far, approximately about 100 meters away from their family flat. Her mother did mention before that Nurin would usually go out with her elder sister who was just a year older than her. However, on that very night, she allowed Nurin to go to the night market alone, and nobody would have expected things to turn out this horrifying. That one time, the mother made an exception to allow Nurin to go to the night market alone, and bad things just happened. What are the odds? Now, it was getting very late, and Nurin's parents were getting very anxious and worried as to where their little girl might be. Nurin's mother then decided to go down to the night market to search for her daughter. She went to ask the stallholders, and she also went to the stall that Nurin usually frequented to buy her hair clips, but weirdly, no one saw Nurin around. So this obviously means that something happened to Nurin even before she managed to reach the stall. At this point, Nurin's mother started panicking. A lot of things went through her mind. She was worried that her daughter might be lost, or that her daughter might have collapsed, fainted somewhere. So she not only searched the night market itself, but she also searched the surrounding areas near the night market, even the alleyways, the small corners. She went there to search as well, but Nurin was nowhere to be seen. After searching high and low for Nurin, Nurin's parents, Jazimin Abdul Jalil and Nurin Bistaman, then headed to the nearest police station, where they eventually filed for a missing persons report. On 30th August 2007, someone came forward with information regarding Nurin's disappearance. It turns out that a cousin of Nurin who lived in the area was the last person to have seen Nurin. She reported that she had witnessed Nurin being forcefully dragged into a white van. She described the person who waited outside the van as someone young, a man who was probably in his 20s. As Nurin walked past, that's when the man suddenly grabbed her and dragged her into the van. It was clear that Nurin was struggling to get away, and the cousin also heard Nurin say, "Tana, Tana," which means no, no. At that point, the cousin didn't think much of it. The cousin innocently thought that it might be someone Nurin knew, and he just wanted to bring her back home. But this also concluded that it's not just a simple case of Nurin going missing. It was also clear that Nurin had been abducted. After a police report was being made, a nationwide search for Nurin led by the authorities began. Posters with Nurin's face and contact details of her parents were being plastered everywhere in the hopes that someone might come forward with any information about Nurin. However, instead of providing any useful information to her parents, people started abusing the numbers on the posters by dropping unkind messages. Be it through texts or calls, messages such as, "Don't you know how to take care of your child? How could you let your child go to the night market alone? She's only 8 years old." Stuff like that, blaming the parents for what happened. I mean, in my opinion, I feel that it's clearly uncalled for. Don't you think the parents felt bad enough? I'm sure nobody wanted this to happen. So the search continues for Nurin. While some people do feel the need to criticize her parents, there were also some kind-hearted souls that wanted to help them. Members of the public offered to contribute monetary rewards to anyone with information about Nurin's whereabouts. This reward amounted to 18,000 Malaysian ringgit, and this amount didn't just stop there. It gradually increased as the days passed and reached to about 30,000 Malaysian ringgit. Now, 13 days have passed since Nurin went missing, and a journalist recommended for Nurin's parents to seek the help from hypnosis forensic expert Dr. Sazali Ahmad. It was said that he was able to track Nurin's location using remote viewing. This was not the first time remote viewing has been used to locate a distant or an unseen target. In fact, the United States military intelligence has used this technique before. This technique enables you to gather information about a target by using the connection of the mind. No doubt that some people would think this is fake and it's unreliable, and most might wonder, how is this even possible, right? But the parents just wanted to do all they can, and there's no harm in trying as well. So a session was eventually conducted by the doctor, Dr. Sazali, and 4 people were being called in. Nurin's mother, Nurin's cousin, the one who witnessed Nurin being taken away, Nurin's best friend, and another individual who was a student of the doctor. So Nurin's mother was the first person to go through this hypnosis technique, this remote viewing process, and the doctor managed to get her into this other realm and she began connecting. She described that her daughter Nurin was in a very dark room and Nurin was seen lying in a fetal position. The doctor then asked Nurin's mother to leave the room and try to look at her surrounding area so that they can try to locate Nurin's location. But it was very difficult for Nurin's mother to leave the room. She got very emotional, especially after she saw Nurin in such a horrible and weak state. Now, Nurin's mother at this point was clearly not mentally strong enough to do whatever the doctor was telling her to do. She couldn't get her eyes off her daughter, so she was just very afraid. Because of this, the connection was interrupted and the process was not successful. Now, Nurin's cousin was the second person to go through this remote viewing process and was able to get a little bit more information than Nurin's mother. Unlike Nurin's mother, she was able to leave the dark room that Nurin was in and she saw a road. It was a very familiar road and she seemed to have walked there before, and there were many trees aligned along the road, and still at the same place, the cousin managed to see a very tall building that was still in the midst of construction. Unfortunately, she wasn't able to find out the name of the road or anything specific to help in locating Nurin. Next person to go through this remote viewing was the doctor's student. Now, this student was able to give much more details because this student was probably very familiar with how all this process worked. The student would know what to look out for, what to do, and stuff like that. So this student saw what Nurin's cousin saw as well. Many trees, and the location has a lot of stores and stalls. The student also saw 2 men guarding Nurin. One of them seemed well-built and the other slightly skinnier. Now, the student also saw Nurin in a fetal position, except this time round, her hands were tied up and it seemed like she was having a fever and she was in a lot of pain. Now, it was very difficult at this point to try and keep connecting with Nurin because she was in a very weak state, and the doctor did advise to hurry up and try to look for important details and clues to locate Nurin, and by the time the last remote viewing session was conducted, Nurin was extremely weak, so it was impossible to carry out the session anymore. As the days passed, it was getting harder to locate Nurin. Police received about more than 100 tip-off to where Nurin might be, but all of this led to nothing. We all know that when someone goes missing, the first few hours are extremely crucial in finding the missing person. And if dragged on, the possibility of finding the missing person just gets more difficult, and in most cases, witnesses, the chances of even finding them alive is highly unlikely. Now, almost a month after Nurin's disappearance, on the morning of 17 September 2007, 32-year-old Cheng Yan Feng, the supervisor of a book distributing company in Petaling Jaya, found a black and blue sports bag outside their company's premises. This place was not far off from where Nurin was last seen. It was around 16 kilometers where Nurin went missing. At first, Yan Feng assumed that the bag belonged to her general manager who had just returned from Singapore, so she left the bag aside for him to collect it later. About 30 minutes later, Jack Yeo Huat Lip, the general manager of the company, arrived at work. Upon finding the bag, he insisted that the bag did not belong to him. So in order to find out whose bag was that, he had to open the bag and inspect it, right? So he opened the bag, and upon doing so, he had the shock of his life. He opened the bag and he saw a pair of human legs. The police were immediately called. Upon inspection, the body was identified to be a young girl between the ages of 6 to 9. Reports confirmed that she had been dead for more than 6 hours before her body was discovered. A post-mortem was carried out and it was revealed that the girl had bruises covering her neck area, an indication that she might have been strangled. Reports also found a cucumber and brinjal inside the victim's genitals. This caused her rectum to rupture, and it was determined that the bacterial infection had contributed to her death. Nurin's parents were alerted immediately and they rushed to the Kuala Lumpur hospital for the identification procedure. They were so nervous and so scared, they kept hoping and praying that the body they were about to identify was not Nurin. Now, due to severe physical changes on the body caused by the trauma, in fact, her face and body was severely deformed, her parents were unable to recognize her. It was also speculated that the child might have been a foreigner due to the absence of injection mark caused by the BCG vaccination that was given to all local children. At this point, the parents denied that the body found was their daughter. Nurin's father refused to believe that it was Nurin. Police have said that DNA tests on the body found stuffed in a sports bag show that it is that of a missing girl, Nurin Jazlin Jazimin. Nurin's father was sure that the body was not Nurin because of the teeth and the scar that Nurin had. According to him, Nurin's teeth did not have gaps between them and she also had a scar on her thigh. However, the police proposed a second DNA test to be carried out to confirm this after 8-year-old Nurin's parents refused to accept the positive DNA results released. Police Chief Deputy Commissioner said the DNA results released by the Forensics Department showed a match between the DNA of both Nurin's parents and that of the body. The match between them was 99.99%. On the 21st of September 2007, hundreds of people turned up at the Taman Ibu Kota Muslim Cemetery here to bid their final farewell to 8-year-old Nurin Jazlin. Nurin's father, who had been trying to remain calm during the earlier part of the day, broke down and hugged his wife. There, Nurin's father managed a few words with the reporters at the madrasah where he said he had accepted the fact that the body was Nurin's. Nurin's violent torture and death sparked an uproar that swept throughout the entire nation. There was an immediate full-scale hunt to find who was responsible for the child's murder. In an attempt to find justice for Nurin, some even wanted to charge her parents for negligence, saying that it was their own carelessness that resulted in the victim's abduction and murder. Child neglect is a punishable offence according to the Child Protection Act 2001. For your information, negligent parents or guardians can be fined up to 5,000 Malaysian ringgit or face a jail sentence for no more than 2 years or both. But the idea was shunned by citizens and ministers alike. The Malaysian Crime Prevention Foundation Vice Chairman at the time, Tan Sri Lam Thai, stated how it would be unfair to charge Nurin's parents over their own daughter's abduction and death, adding that they have gone through enough and there is no need to further punish them. He also went to mention on how the main issue was not about punishing the parents, but how the police and the public could come together to nab those responsible for committing such horrible crimes. Now, CCTV footage was being reviewed to see who could have possibly left the sports bag with Nurin's body inside at the shop outside in Petaling Jaya. Bear in mind that back then in 2007, technology wasn't very advanced, so even with the CCTV footage, it was very blurry and unclear and you couldn't really identify anything from it. Because of this, the local authorities sought help from the FBI from the United States to enhance the footage to make it clearer. Despite the enhanced clip, it failed to reveal the face of the motorcyclist or the license plate of the motorcycle that was used to transport the bag which contained the victim's body. However, the footage did show that there were possibly 5 people involved. The man carrying the gym bag with Nurin's remains is one, and the remaining 4, a woman in a red dress and 3 other men that were seen lurking around the same location where the bag was dropped off. So on the 28th of September 2007, a special task force raided a shop lot in Section 7, Shah Alam, and 5 people were arrested in connection to Nurin's case. 4 men and 1 woman. All 5 of the suspects were between the ages of 27 and 35. They managed to seize 2 cars and 5 cellular phones from the suspects. The arrests were made possible thanks to information from the public. The suspects were then brought to Kuala Lumpur Hospital where a DNA test was done. DNA tests were carried out as police had found foreign particles believed to be strands of hair inside the sports bag in which Nurin's sexually assaulted and naked body was found. The woman who was revealed to be pregnant, however, was released several hours after her statement was recorded. The men, however, were remanded for 7 days by a magistrate's court to facilitate police investigations. One of them is the woman's husband, a tailor shop owner. Now, it was also learned that one of the suspects, who was in his 30s, had previously been implicated in a couple of rape cases but was released due to lack of evidence. In fact, they were all released due to lack of evidence. On the 2nd of October 2007, police arrested an Indonesian woman at a market in Nilai, Negeri Sembilan. If I'm not wrong, she swallowed a SIM card that she was carrying when she was being confronted by the police. An X-ray was being done and it was confirmed that she indeed swallowed it. It was learned that the police had wanted to question her in connection with several text messages she allegedly sent to police claiming that Nurin was in her care. Now, the SIM card was said to be crucial in the investigations. Attempts to flush the SIM card out of her system have been unsuccessful, and while efforts to question the suspect have also been hampered by her play acting and fainting spells. It was also learned that the suspect does not have proper documents as she allegedly informed her employer that her passport had been stolen and she had lodged a police report, so it turns out that she was an illegal immigrant. She was also released because of a lack of evidence after being remanded for 2 weeks. She was handed to the immigration department as she was an illegal immigrant. So there you go, we have no more suspects now on this case. And police have also established that Nurin was not a target of revenge attack but was a victim of chance, and that the unknown assailant was suspected to be a psychopathic killer. There had been speculation earlier that Nurin could have been the victim of revenge against her parents, but police have also established that there were no connections between Nurin's parents and all the suspects that had been in custody. With no more leads to go on, police offered a reward of up to 10,000 Malaysian ringgit to anyone who could come forward with information that might lead them to Nurin's killers. Another 10,000 Malaysian ringgit was added to the reward pool by a private businessman who to this day still remains anonymous. 3 months after Nurin's death, her uncle Jasni Abdul Jalil and several others drafted a proposal in December of 2007 to create an alert system known as the Nationwide Urgent Response Information Network, the Nurin Alert. Now, this idea was based on the United States Missing Broadcasting Emergency Response, also known as the Amber Alert, a warning system specifically designed to immediately trace missing children through a comprehensive network that involved authorities and the community. This system was created after the kidnap and murder of 9-year-old Amber Hagerman in Texas of 1996. This was one of the first steps towards the creation of Talian Noor, the hotline later set up by the Ministry of Women, Family and Community Development to enable early intervention for missing children. As of 2018, Nurin's father has urged police officials to reopen Nurin's murder case in hopes of finding something new with the use of modern technology. His plea was, however, never granted, and the case to this day still remains unsolved. Her case also serves as a reminder that parents should always be aware of their children's whereabouts, and they should never allow young kids to go to dodgy or crowded places like the night market by themselves. No matter how independent or smart your children are, they are still kids and they don't have the capability to protect themselves. Also, I think I didn't mention this earlier on, but her post-mortem photos were being leaked and circulated everywhere when the incident happened. According to reports, 2 policemen were responsible for the circulation of the photos. However, they were not charged or anything, but disciplinary actions were taken against them after Nurin's father wanted to sue. The family definitely didn't have it easy. Not only were they criticized by the public, but they had to see their daughter's post-mortem pictures everywhere, her naked body and the bruises, and the pictures are still on the internet, but out of respect, I won't be sharing or using any of it for this video. Regardless, all of us hope and pray that one day Nurin's family would be able to find closure and they would be able to heal from such a traumatic experience, and if possible, I really do hope that the killer will be caught one day. Now, in an article that was written this year, Nurin's father, who runs a stall currently, say he often imagines the person she would have grown up to be. Sometimes young ladies come to his stall, and when they chat, he would ask them how old they are, and he would think to himself like, oh, that could be my daughter right now, that's her age right now. So it's pretty sad. He is, however, thankful that many people still remember Nurin up to this day. He keeps a photo of her at his stall, in fact. People see it and they recognize her, and they would ask him if he is her father, and he would say yes proudly. Now, I covered a similar story on Huang previously that took place in Singapore. Somehow this story kind of reminds me of this case story that I'm covering. So this story too on Huang was also very sad, and I think it's very important to always talk about such cases as a reminder. So if you like the way I tell stories, please do give me a like and subscribe to my channel. Share this video around, it will mean a lot to me. And I'll see you next Thursday with another story. Bye!